these protests that are continuing in an industrial estate in Santry against asylum seekers being housed there, 300 asylum seekers. It's gone on for the last couple of days. And much like in Inch, I kind of felt myself today tired of talking about people and not talking to them. So when I got to the M50, I didn't go straight onto the Long Mile Road. I turned left and I headed northbound, and I went to Santry before coming into studio today, and I headed out to the Airways Industrial Estate to see what this protest was all about and to try to speak to the people protesting to find out why they were there. So there was 7 people there when I got there, and they were all set up. They had chairs and a gazebo, tea and coffee. So in there for the long haul, they offered me tea and coffee, I should say, perfectly pleasant about that when I got there. And there was a range of views on display. They wouldn't go on the record, I should say, or come on the show. I did ask them several times, and I'll explain why in a moment. But as you'd expect in terms of their views, I mean, they shared some core concerns that the area is not suitable, the building's not suitable, services are already overstretched, there's too many refugees and asylum seekers in this particular area. The unvetted men of military age thing, I mean, that got trotted out as well. Now, some of those concerns, people like to dismiss all these people as absolutely kind of far-right dudes. Some of those concerns are actually legitimate. They are. Not all of them. I'm not getting into the unvetted military male thing. But, I mean, some communities are bearing a heavier load than others. That is true. It's also true that they probably don't have enough doctors or Gardaí or houses in that area like anywhere else. Now, that doesn't mean for a moment I'm condoning the protest, or that I think they should be doing this. But the concern is legitimate. It's that the anger is misdirected. I mean, without the asylum seekers, they're still not going to have a GP tomorrow morning if those asylum seekers are all sent somewhere else. So that problem persists. That's a problem of policymakers and government, a government who have more money than they know what to spend. Anyway, so there are more extreme views out there, though, as well. And I said they wouldn't speak to me. And one of the reasons was they said they don't trust, the so-called mainstream media. The other reason was that I, according to one of them, and all of my colleagues, are in the pay of Big Pharma. And if we weren't, we would be talking about how the COVID vaccine was killing us, was designed to kill us. It is a poison. And it's part of a big World Economic Forum plan to replace the Irish population, the so-called indigenous Irish population, with a migrant population. And that's part of the problem with the protests and with the idea that our political leaders should be going out to engage and sit down and talk to them. I mean, I don't think any government minister with 2 grey cells to spark off each other would have any interest in going out and having someone shout in their face about being in the pay of Big Pharma and World Economic Forums and Great Replacement Theory. Like that's the issue. So while some of them perfectly pleasant, that's the other element you're dealing with out there. And I just thought it was interesting to go out there and to hear why they were there. And I know some politicians, maybe not our political leader, but some politicians have been out there speaking to them as well. Dessie Ellis, the Sinn Féin TD for Dublin North West, was there as well. Dessie is with me now. You're welcome to the show. Dessie, what do you make of this protest?
Well, there's people out there protesting now. And there's a tendency for people to call them all, they're on the extreme right. But there are some ordinary, genuine people there with their concerns. And unfortunately, those concerns are getting lost because of some of the actions of the extreme right in our city. Not just there at Airways, there are people there who've stopped traffic, people going in and out, or stopping people going into the estate, and that sometimes is seen as an extreme reaction. But and remember, people are in this building, prepared in the building, and a lot of these people have had an awful lot of trauma in their life, whether it's through they're there seeking asylum, whether it's men, women or children. They have had to flee war, they've had to flee famine, they've had to flee different persecutions, whether it's religious or political. So protesting on front of people like that and putting pressure on people like that is not a good thing, and it shouldn't happen.
So do you think they should disband entirely or just move down the street a bit away from the entrance? What should they do? Well,
they're entitled to protest, but they have to protest in the right places. And for the right reasons. And nobody disputes everyone has a right to protest. But I don't feel then what happened in Ballymun, where people were protesting in front of people who were genuinely under pressure in accommodation, and there was chance of get them out, etc. All this sort of what appears to be very, very directed towards immigrants is uncalled for.
Yeah, you mentioned say Ballymun and get them out. And we had some really awful rhetoric in front of the Garda station in Finglas a few months ago as well. Yeah. I mentioned that one individual to me that talked about kind of big pharma and COVID, it being a big plan to kind of kill us. I mean, the problem is, they become the loudest voices, don't they?
Well, we're in the Trump era of false information, and there's an awful lot of false information be put around about immigrants and about people coming into the country or seeking asylum. And we need to be careful. Okay, there are some people there that have genuine fears, but that doesn't mean that you should go out. And it appears to be intimidating people who are seeking asylum or looking for help or fleeing famine. I just think we need to be careful, and people need to think of what they're doing, and residents need to think of the repercussions of what they're doing.